Hello, good evening. Thank you for coming. We are hosq Foundation. We're here to cultivate of developing of creative industries, to be short. Let me introduce Shohagat, Milke Gostan.
Hello, I'm so happy that we are all here. Something exciting and new is happening in Armenia, and I'm so excited to share it with you. And I guess it's one of the amazing things to be in one team, in one flow, and that's why we are hosq. And hosq is organizing these small lectures, inspirations.
Huge.
It's huge lectures. And besides of it, we are here with lots of possibilities and open calls, and one is even open now for all artists who will be inspired after this call and would like to try something multidisciplinary. The hosq.co is open for new applications for the laboratory, which will happen in the beginning of April, and more about it at the end. And now let me open up the second day of our lectures, and let's clap one more time to Diana Carla, who was yesterday with us and inspiring. And today I was walking somewhere and sitting in a cafe, and there was like a conversation about, have you seen like yesterday there was like this woman speaking about this old leaking orchestra, and I was like, what up? Okay. It was some sound effect to have your attention. No one is sleeping. Everyone is here. Okay. And I was wondering what tomorrow will be. And let me introduce you, Jan Świerkowski.
Hello.
Hello. And, okay. Woohoo! I guess we are so lucky to have you here. Really, and I'm so looking forward to hear, learn, and get inspired after you. And we are going to have a Q&A session just after, and for now, the floor is yours. Thanks for coming.
Mike? No.
Oh, maybe
I can grab that. So, I will be using the mic because we are recording the session. Yeah, like this. So, my name is Jan Świerkowski, that's true. And first of all, I'm super grateful and happy to be here for the second time. It's my second time in Armenia, in Yerevan. I've participated in Starmus 2.5 years ago, and I have nothing but love for Armenia and Yerevan. I was so excited when hosq reached out to me that I have this amazing possibility to discuss with you the cosmos and share a couple of thoughts that we will be having after the lecture or a talk or by the way, I wanted to say one thing. I will be talking around 45 minutes, 40 more or less. I have a lot of videos, so hopefully there will be some interaction with the media. But one thing, it will be really useful if during the interview you have any the talk, if you will have any questions, please ask them immediately. If something is like bothering you or you'd like to ask it, Q&A is amazing, but you can also do it during the talk, okay? I'll try to make it interesting, but like a conversation is always far more interesting than a monologue, so we can have that as well, right? So, the cosmic perspective by me, Jan Świerkowski. First try. Down. Ha, it works. So, very brief. I've studied astronomy. I've done my master's in Toruń, the city of Copernicus. That's where Nicolaus Copernicus was born. And because of this, I have a small thing. I brought pierniki, because everything in Toruń is about gingerbread or Copernic. So the gingerbread is called Copernic. There you go. You can have it. And and pass it.
Be shy.
There's more. Come on. Yeah, so it's Cosmos and Pierniki and everything. There you go. And if you once come to Torun, you will see that everything is about Copernicus. So it's the piernikis, so gingerbread, the hotel that you will stay in, the taxi that will pick you up will be Copernicus taxi, and so on, so on. So I needed to study astronomy in a way in Torun. But then after a while, I've also done my PhD in cultural studies. It was a long way from being an astrophysicist to being a cultural researcher and a curator, and we will discuss my journey a bit, and hopefully you will see how the two disciplines, supposedly disconnected, intertwine and intersect with each other. So art and science, yeah, let's go. The other way around, the cosmic perspective. So the cosmic perspective is my deepest motivation to do stuff in my life. And I started seeing the universe in a different way somewhere around my third year of my studies, being an astrophysicist, when you learn all these amazing things about the cosmos. You know, the size of the cosmos, the multiverses, the black holes, everything is super interesting. And immediately what you would like to do is to talk with someone about the deep philosophy that is unraveling before your eyes, you know, the nature of reality. And I was trying to talk to my closest family, like my mom, my girlfriend, so the people that you really care about, like saying, look, mom, maybe doing your shopping is not as important because we are all going to die, you know, or this type of stuff, you know, like, or you, maybe better, you came from the stars and you have a star within you, which is like billions of years old, and it's not so sad that we are going to pass. Maybe we don't need a religion, I don't know, but there are other ways of understanding how we belong to the cosmos, how we belong and how we make part of the universe. One of them is the scientific method. But the funny part about the scientific method is that almost no one understands it, or the outcomes of the contemporary scientific method other than the scientist. So I would try to talk with my closest family, but in a way I would be super lonely because no one was interested. I would go, oh mom, black holes, no. And she was like, yeah, cool, dinner, you know? And I was having a super amazing experience with the astrophysics, but no one was interested in it. And the cosmic perspective is really simple. Like, we are here, right? But we are also here. We are also here. We are also here in the local group of 60 galaxies. And we are also here in a huge structure in the universe. And let's see the sizes of the universe very briefly. So, right? Here we are, humans, giraffes, statues of liberty, Titanics, right? Dubai, West Virginia, California. No, it's the, right? The planets. First planet, some stars, right? Some planetary nebulas, some galaxies, clusters of galaxies, and then the universe. So actually, we are here, and we are operating with this scale more or less. But let's just quickly come back.
Actually, it's called a visible universe.
Thank you so much. Oh, we are too far. Yeah. And we are back to our everyday life, right? Now, let me just go back to my everyday presentation. Yeah, which is here. So, but the cosmic perspective, right, can be also the question of how many civilizations are there in the universe, right? We can try to understand how many intelligent civilizations are within our galaxy. And we can calculate it using, or maybe make an assumption, using this equation called the Drake equations, the Drake equation, which has different parameters. And this equation is not a, let's say, scientific equation, but it allows you to understand, okay, so how many civilizations are in our galaxy, civilizations that we could communicate with. And in order to do so, we have to multiply the yearly amount of new stars within our galaxy by a fraction of the stars which will have a planet, by a fraction of the planets which will be able to support life, by a fraction of the planets which will actually develop life, then by a fraction of the planets which will develop intelligent life, then by a fraction of the planets on which the life will be giving any signs of existence, and finally we will have to multiply it by a period in which a civilization will exist. And it all sounds maybe not too interesting until we will put some numbers. So assuming that there are 7 stars per year formed in our galaxy, out of which, let's say, roughly half of them have planets, out of which 2 are capable of sustaining life, out of which 0.13 will actually develop life, out of which 1 in 100 will have intelligent life, out of which 1/10 will communicate, and assuming a 10,000 year period in which civilization can communicate, we will come up with a number of intelligent civilizations in our galaxy. And also remember, it's not a scientific fact. It's just a play with numbers. But assuming different numbers, out of which, let's say, first 4, we know more or less. So we can assume quite well. The other 3 are pure speculation. But we end up with 23 intelligent civilizations within our galaxy that we could communicate with. And of course, some argue that it's a lot more, some argue that it's a lot less. However, it can also be called a cosmic perspective. And the question would be, okay, so is there life in the universe? Are there any bacteria? Are there any biosignatures of life that we could detect? And also, what does it mean for us if we are not the center of the universe? And also, the cosmic perspective, many say that it's basically the view of the Earth as seen from the moon. There's a lot of talk now about the overview effect, which is the cognitive shift that many Yeah, go.
It's actually not from the surface of the moon, but from the lunar-centric orbit.
Thank you so much. So this view has started what we refer to as the cognitive shift, overview effect, which for many astronauts is a shift in the way that they see the Earth. They somehow, looking at Earth, they feel a certain interconnectedness of everything. As you can see, there are no colors, there are no borders, there are no countries like this. You see the whole thing, the planet Earth. And that can also be a useful cosmic perspective. And about all this, so not about only equations. I wanted to talk with my family, with my mom, again, with my girlfriend, but I could only talk with my colleagues. You know, there were a couple of us, astronomy students, we were discussing doing philosophy. Oh, by the way, before astronomy, I studied for 1 year philosophy. And I have to say I was completely disappointed. And that's the reason why, because the scientific method gives you a better understanding of reality. And then you can create a philosophy, morale, based on how reality looks like. Oh, that's a pointer. Yeah. So basically for me, the cosmic perspective is just a framework to redefine the basic ontological and epistemological dogmas of philosophy. And astronomy gives us tool to do that, to basically construct new philosophies which are not based on what the Greeks were thinking, but on the understanding of surrounding reality. And everyone is invited to create these type of philosophies. And exactly for that, while I was still a student in 2009 during the UNESCO International Year of Astronomy, I started Institute B61, an art and science back then collective, now a research center, which is focused on investigating the cosmic perspective, creating artistic, scientific connections, running art residencies, connecting artists with laboratories, coming up with innovations, products. It is based in Toruń. It's co-owned by the Nicolaus Copernicus University. And what we are doing there a lot is working with a method I came up with while I was trying to understand, okay, so how should I talk with my mom? Again, it's the third time I'm mentioning her. As you can see, she's quite important. So how we can communicate and how we can discuss this type of equations with a broader mass of people, immediately creating an entrance for them for the philosophical meaning and not just for understanding a equation. And obviously there is a way to do that. Oh, I needed one more slide here. So I'll just jump here and I'll show you this slide. So this is exactly the, let's say, philosophy of quantum physics that Schrödinger came up with when he was communicating with Einstein, and they were sending letters to each other. And actually Schrödinger was trying to discredit the quantum theory. And he was saying like, look, Albert, quantum physics makes absolutely no sense, because if it would be like a cat which is dead and alive at the same time. But what happened is it's exactly like that. So it wasn't, he didn't manage to disprove it, but he came up with one of the best metaphors that we have in science. And what we do in B61, we come up with this type of, let's say, metaphors or experiments in order to make them the basic, the starting point for art. So it's not our goal to come up with a new Schrödinger's cat. No, it's just to create a certain representation for an equation that doesn't have this type of solution yet. And as you will see, it's super easy to do because the cognitive processes that we have as humans when we do abstract art and abstract science are exactly the same. So it's exactly the same process that allows us to think of abstraction. And in order to do so, I will tell you now just a short story about the Lion Man. Have you ever heard of the Lion Man? So the Lion Man is the oldest representation of abstraction that we know of. So an artist 30,000 years ago, more or less, created a very tiny sculpture, a lion man. And as you can see, it has a head of a lion and a body of a man. And before that, what we know, humans would only represent animals like this, or maybe you would find a hand in a cave. So that artist, 30,000 years ago, for the first time ever, thought of a creature that is not here with us. You know, it's the first creation of an abstract, a god maybe, with the head of a lion, right? So maybe it was as powerful as a lion, but but it could walk as a human. So most probably what happened 30,000 years ago, more or less, through different evolutionary processes and mutations, our brains gained the capability of blending spaces. So of blending two things that we know from the surrounding reality. So imagine you're 30,000 years ago and you know how a lion looks like because you've seen one far away, and then you know how a man looks like. And now we, the animals, basically, our brains get this capability of blending two concepts, two real concepts into one. Now think of an angel. What is an angel? Right? It's a bird and a human. And basically we can track almost all abstraction to this one cognitive process called conceptual blending. We learn, and then our brain has the capability of coming up with this. And as you will see, this is exactly the explanation of the Schrödinger's cat. This is the same process that Einstein used as the artist 30,000 years ago. He knew how a dead cat looks like. He knew how a cat which is alive looks like. And he came up with a cat which is dead and alive at the same time, right? You have a space of a cat which is alive. We know from experience, a dead cat, and then we come together, and we have the supreme metaphor of quantum physics, right? Based on the very biological process from 30,000 years ago. Now, so after discovering this, I started working with this process, and I started to think like, well, maybe there are things in, let's say, astrophysics or physics that we could use this knowledge of how our brains work in order to create abstractions, but not to like show drawings to people, but to invite them to something special. And I work a lot with these type of diagrams. They are exactly about blending what we know from reality, introducing this in a different context. So because my lecture is, well, it's always more or less the same. However, when I'm speaking now in Yerevan, I'm changing the words and I'm translating to a given culture, not only language, so that I can be more, so I can provide the meaning for you a bit better. And so this is the part of the blend, and there is always a semiotic space. So this is the space in which a certain thing is presented, and then we make meaning out of this. But basically, a main sequence star that we worked on with an artist looked more or less like this. A very cramped, small room with a bunch of people, a super popular music band in the middle, and a lot of shredded paper. And once you start, it's exactly like a core of a star, because it's super dense, it's super hot, and it's super energetic, because there are also connected stroboscopes, and the paper goes up. So once you have a room packed with people, and the band starts to play, the paper starts to go all around the place, you see like a time-lapse movie. Because of the strong stroboscope, you see the after images. And it's exactly what happens inside of the core of a star, with absorption and emission. So before the light which is being created in the center of a star goes out, it is all the time absorbed and emitted in a given direction. So if you would ask people after this, like, what is a core of a star, after participating in this, what they will know that it was super hot, because it was flooded with people, and it was super dense, and it was super energetic, you know? And that's super basic. And I was also curious whether this type of solutions can be patented. And I was inspired by an American guy, maybe you know of a futurologist, Ray Kurzweil. He was one of the first people to patent artistic work. And I came up with this idea, let's try to patent this core of a star. And 2 years ago, I actually made it, and I got a patent for this solution in which, let's say it's artistic but educational at the same time. It was just like I did it in order to prove that I'm right, you know, that you can actually get a patent for an artistic solution. There's a lot of works, and I've worked for almost 15 years with different people. The works that I'm showing you now, they come from one specific performance, which was also shown here in Armenia in 2022 for Starmus. One of the works that is presented during that performance is a concept of infinity. Another one is a planetary nebula, so a large scale, or not a large scale, but a large laboratory in which planetary nebulas are created. Here is a black hole. So the ending moment of the performance presented here in India on the Mandovi River during a art and science festival. Yeah. But this is the method, you know. I have a method, we come up with things, but the other part is how we present it. And I also truly believe that strong emotions are super connected with our memory, that's one, but also new neural bindings are being connected, where we are super, when we pay attention, we are better at learning. So this is why also I came up with this idea of presenting different artworks in site-specific spaces. What you see here is basically a draft or a script of a performance, where people go from one installation or performance to another, and they follow a path of a star. And what happens is we take a group of people somewhere in the city without telling them where they are going to go. So this is a train station in one of the cities of Poland. Then they are put inside of a blackened bus, so they have absolutely no clue where they are going. And they end up in a prepared, a lot of the times post-industrial space or or a public art place, but never in a museum. You know, it's also like maybe it's not like I don't like museums, but they really make you do mostly one type of art, or it's really hard to immerse people in a museum. So there are different spaces, like this one, for example, was a super nice place. We did this performance in the Azores in Portugal, in an old sugar factory, with beautiful, like, ready-made machines and things that we could have used for the performance. Yeah, and I'll just show you now the first video of the work and then how it looks like, more or less. This is also from a year and a half ago from Kochi Muziris Biennale. That's the biggest biennale in India, which is this year. It will happen again in December. I do recommend going. It's a very nice, beautiful biennale in South India. And let's try. 5 billion is a lot, right? So we shouldn't have to worry. A statistical man lives around 73 to 78, depending on the country.
I have attended a few performance, immersive, experiential things, but such a beautiful story.
And we will now guide you through the evolution of stars.
I really like the idea that art is connected to science.
$5 billion years have already passed since its creation. There are 5 billion more before the destruction of the Earth. The crew was from Bollywood, and they really, and this is like a softened version. The first movie was like we were all heroes, like running around. So
Kerala is Bollywood. Bollywood is in Mumbai.
Yeah.
Not in Kerala.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. Thank you so much for correction. But you can always have someone like me from Poland in Yerevan. It's a similar thing. So the biggest microphone, yeah, sorry. So I think one of the biggest and most interesting projects that I've ever done was called the Cosmic Underground, and it was an exhibition that happened in a cargo train that started in Estonia, in Tallinn, and then it went through and performed in 5 different countries. So in the Baltic states, in Poland, and then in Portugal. What we've done and what I came up with was an artistic project in which we rented the cargo trains. They were given to the artists, and they were doing whatever they wanted with the cars. We were living in that train for 61 days and just going through Europe and performing at different train stations. and basically having an amazing art science residency, because we had like 40, 50 people living in one train, always on the road, talking, discussing, and creating. Super nice thing. And yeah, it included like large-scale installations on train platforms. The Cosmos sign here is from an old post-Soviet hotel in Poland, created for the 500 years of 500, that's a tricky word, anniversary of the birth of Copernicus. And the fun part is that the artist could actually choose the cars. You know, I like this one, like matchboxes. And then what we created was a very different and different looking train. And everyone who took part in it was, I don't know, was happy. A short video of the project.
Time and space all over the place. It's cosmic underground. Time and space all over the place. It's cosmic underground. Inexplicable, individual, unforgivable. I forgive so much living. It's unconditional, unavailable, and unsustainable. Understated, don't know which way to go. 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 I choose to get this off my chest, 'cause how the fuck else would they get the message? Choose to get this off my chest, 'cause how the fuck else would I get respected? Contagious like outrageous like it's a full moon out tonight. Party people here just feel alright. It's a full moon out tonight. Party people here just feel uptight. It's a full moon out tonight. Party people here just feel alright. All of you party people, put your hands in the air.
Y arriba, la 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 la.
All of you bigger people, put your hands up in the air.
Let's pump this. Let's pump this.
Pump the jam, pump it up till your feet are thumping. Pump the jam, pump it up now. Pump the jam, pump it up till your feet are thumping. Pump the jam, pump it up now. Pump the jam, pump it up till your feet are thumping. Pump the jam, pump it up now. Pump the jam, pump it up till your feet are thumping. Pump the jam, pump it up now. 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 Pump it up now.
projects that we do. One of them is, one of the mediums you can easily work with is video art. project was a project that we did on Instagram as an interactive digital storytelling narrative. And I'll play one of the episodes for you, but I think what I will have to do, I have to put on the subtitles.
W czerwonym olbrzymie ustają reakcje syntezy termojądrowej, jego zewnętrzne warstwy rozpływają się, a w jego centrum gigantyczna grawitacja przezwycięża ciśnienie i zmusza atomy do takiej ciasnoty, że znikają ich powłoki elektronowe. Jądro gwiazdy podobnej do Słońca zapada się wtedy do rozmiaru Ziemi, choć przecież dalej zachowuje całą swoją masę i w postaci białego karła staje się ostatnim stadium ewolucji gwiazdy. Przez następne miliardy lat biały karzeł powoli będzie tracić ciepło, aż stanie się czarnym karłem, czego najprawdopodobniej nie doczekamy, zamknięci w naszej ludzkiej powłoce.
Okay. And of course, art and science, that's one thing, but we can also build a scientific culture, let's say. So projects which work not exactly with the method, however, they still are somehow within the interest of science, let's say. One of the things that I've recently done was an exhibition for the Polish Pavilion during the EXPO in Dubai. And one of the elements that I really loved was called Kowalski in Space. Kowalski is a typical Polish name, like a Karen type of, so if anything goes wrong, it's Kowalski who did it. So we wanted to put Kowalski in space, and we designed 2 astronaut suits, which were inspired by typical Polish design, like typical but also kitsch, a bit post-Soviet, but also nice, so that you would come back to it because your grandmas would do it. And we've designed 2 suits which were, then the project had its premiere in the Polish Vogue and had a pretty nice lifetime. It's been shown in different places around the world. The main goal was to maybe decolonize the idea that we have about space and going to space, because as a kid, like my dream of going to space, I would also always see myself in a white suit with the American flag and NASA, or at times maybe for someone it would be someone starting from Baikonur. But those are the 2 ways how you can perceive yourself in space, right? And if you're a kid from a small town in Poland, maybe it would be easier if you would see yourself in a suit that is designed in the way that your grandma would design it. And if you're 5 years old, maybe it's easier to identify with what you know, other than accepting a culture which is quite strange to you. And that project worked really well. So Kowalski really went to, maybe not to space, but it went to different places. Last year I started Nowe Obroty, which means new revolutions. It was again dedicated to Nicolaus Copernicus, and we were discussing different, let's say, new Copernican revolutions. So things that are so revolutionary that they can change our lives exactly as the idea of Copernicus. And this festival, it happens in Toruń. And it was attended by Mary Wojtek, who was the lead scientist for NASA's astrobiology program. So she was the one who would know whether there is life in space, and she would tell us how the Drake equation looks like. There was Avi Loeb from Harvard University. He started the Black Hole Initiative, the project that then came up with this picture of a black hole that you may have seen recently. And then there was Lima Bowie, the Nobel Peace Prize winner from Liberia. And and we discussed new Copernican revolutions. And one of the revolutions was that when we will find life in space, it will for sure be a revolution. And as astrophysicists, I think there is a consensus that rather there is life in space. And the second revolution was to talk about peace. In the times of war, to talk about peace, it felt really revolutionary. So this is why Lima Bowie, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, she was also with us.
We're not privileged to be the only intelligence that ever existed, and that's why the title of my lecture is The Next Copernican Revolution.
I imagine it as a scientific discovery that changes how we understand and think about our world.
What we do in terms of transforming the spaces that we find ourselves is not a job that you can retire from. Who retires from humanity?
That would be a place that I had to be.
And this is a super nice project that I also like. We designed a bunch of arcade games by twisting their scenarios. So they are also about decolonizing space exploration. To be honest, I don't even like the word exploration. I think it's also a bit colonial. So, but the games, arcade games, they have a thing in them because they exploit very well our basic instinct. That is to get more, to shoot, and to compete with the second person. And very easily, if you twist the basic script of a game, you can come up with a very philosophical comment or a moral comment on the behavior of people. And this exhibition, the Copernican Principle, is now still in Singapore at Science Center, Singapore.
My name is Świerkowski. I'm the curator of the exhibition Copernican Principle in the Science Center in Singapore. Copernican Principle is an art and science exhibition, which means that we have invited artists and scientists to collaborate together to create an artwork which explores ethical questions and the philosophy of science. We have invited visitors here in the Science Center Singapore to interact with 9 arcade games that allow them to learn and think about the future of humanity without reading excess material. They basically can experience science and art through skin.
Well, at the Science Center Singapore, we believe the importance of bringing science and arts together to address the complex world we live in. We are very honored and privileged to yet again partner the Polish Embassy to bring in this Copernican Principle by Instytut B61 to the Science Center as a showcase of the power of science and art together to communicate with our audience.
I would like to invite you to come and visit us at Science Center Singapore from September until March 2025 here in Singapore.
I quite like this project, and again you can see it's Copernican Principle, so I wasn't lying that everything is about Copernicus in the beginning. And one of the final things that I'll show you are large-scale concerts and events that we produce for the region of Copernicus. This is a concert called Under One Sky, to which we invite a lot of like the best Polish musicians to interpret and to create a huge concert for around 10 to 15,000 people. And the songs are about the cosmos, about stars, but also about unity. So about things that we have in common rather than about things that divide us. That's one of the basic things that we can get from the cosmic perspective or from the cosmos itself, you know, that we are not different at all. So, yeah. It's been almost 7 years since we've been introducing this identity to the region. really like this project because it's not as, it doesn't go like, it's not, like everyone can understand it, And there is something beautiful in a common experience. It's like in an opera. You go and there's like 500 people in the opera experiencing something together. And that's a beautiful thing, to have like 10,000 people during a concert for being under one sky, no matter the differences, and singing songs about, sun, stars, and some cool stuff. Very simple, but everyone is super happy, and then they go back home and maybe they don't think in what tumultuous times we are living in, right? So that's a really nice part of this project. Very short evaluation, mainly about the performances, so about the method, the scientific concept of using the cognitive processes, the same ones that are responsible for abstraction in science and art. Simply the reviews from Forbes, which called the whole experience of participating in the immersive performance as euphoric and mind-bending. And then the Clash magazine, the London-based magazine, called it life-altering experience. And I'm showing this not to brag and to say, oh, super nice brands are writing good stuff about us, but to say that in a way, this is exactly what I wanted to do when I started 15 years ago. I wanted to bring this cosmic perspective, which was a life-altering experience for me, to other people. I really wanted to talk with my mom, and equations or scientific knowledge was not the way. I needed to create something that she would feel, and that she would feel that her life has been changed, or her mind has been bended. And maybe, just maybe, we were able to succeed. And there is, of course, a scientific explanation to this, because whenever we want to learn something radically new, we most of the time do it through a metaphor. So it means that it's very hard to understand something which is out of the scope of our conceptual framework. Because this is why we are good at things, because we go to school. Because we learn to think in a certain way. For 10, 15 years, we are good at repetition, we are good at habits, and now someone wants to disrupt the habits. And presenting, like immersing people in a in an experience, let's say, this is a great way to introduce something radically new. And maybe they will not learn about science, but they will learn something new about themselves. And I think this is super nice. And this is also, you remember, I was telling you about the spaces, a lion, a man, and this is one part, because this is the scientific part, and this is the part which is here. You see, this is the intention of what an artist and a scientist they are trying to do. But other than that, there is a whole part which is unexpected. And this is super beautiful, because if you create a certain immersive space, you basically don't know what people are going to come up with. You don't know what you are doing to them. You know what you're intending to do, but the unexpected neural bindings, this maybe is the reason why people feel this life alteration. So not the intention, but the unexpected part of the whole process. Yeah, just a final note. It's super important and super interesting, something that I observed some time ago when I was doing the performance Evolution of Stars for the first time ever in India. And this is a representation of a white dwarf. One of the artists came up with this idea that a white dwarf, which is one of the final stages in the evolution of a star, is basically a weak source of light in complete darkness. And she came up with this idea that she represented it using the motif of Pietà. You know, the Holy Mary holding the body. So this is the cosmos. In complete darkness, people would enter the darkness and they would see the body of a white dwarf. And then my friend, who was from Tamil Nadu, he showed up and he said, Jan, but why is it so sad? Why death? Why death of a star is dark? Well, we understand death completely differently. And then he showed me this. And this is not happiness. This is just an ecstatic representation in which you're connecting with your inner self, let's say, during a procession when someone dies. And the interesting part in it is that when a scientist from, let's say, a Christian culture, when a scientist from a Christian culture comes up with his metaphors, they will be highly contextual. So the mathematics is the same, like for all of us. This is the beauty of mathematics. But the way that we will understand it, this will be based on a context. So what we were doing now is we already have like 5 or 6 different representations of a white dwarf from super different cultures. And the interesting part in it, and I always wonder, I don't know if I'm right, but I also wonder if, because science is not only about solving your equations, but also about putting them together. And a lot of the times we come up with the idea how to put the equations based on an intuition, let's say. And intuition is a super cultural thing. So maybe a scientist doing his research before the equations from India will do it differently, or at least the path to the solution will be different than a scientist from, let's say, Armenia, Portugal, or whatever. Yeah, and this is the cosmic perspective. Before I say thank you, I don't know if it will work. I hope it will. Yeah. I have 2 pictures from the performance from 2 years ago, from the opera. It happened during Starmus. We got one of the floors below the opera, which still housed, like, you know, a scenography from 50 years ago, sphinxes and stuff. We cleaned it with an amazing team from Starmus, out of which people are here also. Yeah, Katia, Elena, and many amazing people that helped us and welcomed us here in Armenia. We had an amazing team also from Tumo. So yeah, it was super beautiful to be here. The whole performance, you can see the Core of a Star also performed in the opera. It was a super nice experience, and I'm super happy to be back. I hope I showed you some interesting stuff, and now we can have a quick Q&A. Thank you so much.
So we continue after really this inspiring thing. I was like, is there anything you found during your 2-time trips to Armenia that you would like to explore within your scientific and artistic experiences? Is there anything like inspired you from here?
No, of course, I'm super inspired by Burakan. Like, I believe that place is extremely magical, and the radio optical telescope is a national treasure. Like, I've never been to a place like this, and I hope it's going to be saved, either for scientific purpose, but maybe for a creative space or a creative lab, for a place for residencies. I think it's one of a kind, truly, and I'm extremely inspired. I've seen artworks done there, but I also believe it's a treasure. It's of aesthetics, architecture, also the story behind it is really beautiful, and I think it should be cherished, and I'm keeping fingers crossed that somebody will actually find a way how to help this place and preserve it for future generations.
Yeah, this is also true. Whenever you are ready to ask the question, you can simply raise your hand. I can see the first question.
Hello. First of all, thank you for the amazing lecture. My first question is, you have a really gorgeous jacket. Did you bleach it yourself?
No, I didn't. It's done by 2 Georgian designers. They are brothers, and they design for really cool brands. Some in Milan, but thank you. Yeah, I didn't, but it's not as complicated. Maybe I should do it myself.
I see. It just looks really nice.
Thank you so much.
The second question, sorry for advance, it would sound a little bit accusatory, it's only partially intended. About the, what was it called? The patent of the performance that you did. I know that it is recent to patent the art and art-related stuff, but I usually associate patenting with restriction. For restriction to use the technology, mostly it is with technology. Is it proper or natural in terms of art as the unifying experience to patent the art to effectively restrict it? Or maybe I just don't understand how this works in terms of art.
No, it's a great question. For me, I treat it more as a provocation, to be honest, than a real thing, because the way that, for example, the grant opportunities are constructed now for Poland and for European Union, we need to prove that we are innovative and that we are useful for the society and that we will have a return on investment. So patenting art is a way of saying, yeah, I did it, and what now? And basically in a grant you put that you're going to do it, you're going to have it, and it's a way, basically, or it's a way of finding or going beyond the main narrative. Maybe it wasn't it wasn't obvious, but I'm super at times distracted by the capitalistic approach to everything that we have. I used to live in the beautiful city of Lisbon, which was completely gentrified, and it's all for digital nomads, and it's super cool, and it's super nice, and now, like ice cream costs 10 euros, and it pisses me off a bit. And but it's the same with research, with art. We are all the time trying to prove that there will be a return on investment other than just our lives being better or our lives having a better quality. So I think we are entering a time when we will have to be even stronger in our opposition to this idea that the value of what we do can be monetized or is only monetary.
I see, but doesn't it prove the idea that it can be monetized as proven to be a concept that can be patented?
No, because then you can change just one or two things and there's no patent anymore. And it's really... Go.
Right? It's more like...
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's a proof of concept. So I was trying to prove that you can get money for funding from research grants and basically doing a patent, but doing an artwork. And I've never used this patent, if you'd ask me, and I'm not planning to.
Yeah, I get that you won't. The concept is a little bit... Thank you. Thanks for the again.
Thank you for your question.
Barry Eriko. Dear John, by the way, my name is Naidalma. I'm poet and peace activist and decolonization researcher. Dear John, it was really cool to hear your experience and to see your rich portfolio. We are actually participated in StarMus 2 years ago, so it was really outstanding experience for Yerevan, for sure. And I would like to ask you, as a curator, is a huge work to manage different teams. I mean, artistic teams, scientific teams, maybe even technical teams to perform in one way. So any hacks in terms of management and from cosmic perspective?
Thank you so much for this question. It's super relevant. And I can see immediately where you're coming from. I have the same problems. And I think being a curator is, now it's let's say 20% about art and 80% of the work is about handling teams, as you said, fundraising, which is a huge issue for everyone. So no, I don't have any, my way was always to be persistent, and when I believed in something I would jump into it without thinking what will be the outcome. Like coming to Armenia, we knew that we are coming for StarMus 2.5 months before, and then we met amazing people, and I always found this, that when I truly believe in something, I can make people follow, and I can make them then carry me when I lose faith. And I think that's amazing, to have people around that will believe in you, or you will believe, like that. I always, when I was and I had trouble, believe me. Like that project, the train project, I was broke. Like I owed 30,000 euros to people, you know. And then within a year, I found a way how to move forward because I had amazing people around me. And we get together and we were like, well, we just miscalculated by 4% the overall budget. So let's go, let's do it. And I would say people, like always trust your team or put faith in them, encourage them, build capacity for them. And then, you know, you're not alone. That's my answer. Maybe, you know, like somewhere in the sky, but yeah, that's what I do, and I've never somehow lost, yeah.
Yes. Okay, Sónar Barcelona. I have a second question, if you will allow. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you manage your time, your energy, your stress? Any hacks, please?
Okay, so I think we have something in common then. I would also love to know this. No, I think the giving priorities is the most important, and letting go. It's one of the things for me, part of being a grown-up, is of learning how to say no and of letting go. So things that you have to evaluate. And look, I'm in my 40s now. Like I'm 41. By all statistics, I have 30 years in front of me at maximum. So, well, maybe not at maximum, but most probably it's only 30 years. So most of my life is gone. And I really need to be wise concerning what I invest in terms of my time. And I think saying no to things and evaluating what you start doing is super important. Like now when I get a grant, I'm not happy, you know, and not because I don't like it. I'm only happy after I evaluate it and I know that I'm capable of delivering the final result that I promised, because we always promise this, and this is what's possible, and most probably this is what we are going to do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for great presentation and great speech. My question is, what is your future plans regarding to arts?
Regarding what?
Arts.
Art. Ah, okay. That's easy. That part. Well, I have a couple of things now. At the moment, I'm working on a project that we want to show in Venice for the Universe Pavilion. We will be putting one person in a so-called analog mission. Analog space missions are space missions here on Earth, where we conduct experiments on a group of people which are or who are isolated for an extended period of time. So we will be putting an artist within that group, and there is a topic of a certain tension between space architecture and sheltering ourselves and going to space for a long period of time, and also a lack of participation of people from other cultures than the Western culture in how different things are shaped, and there are different needs of astronauts up there in space. So this is one project that I'm working on now. I'm super lucky to again work for the Polish Pavilion for the EXPO in Japan, and Nowe Obroty, so the new revolutions. This is one of the things that I'm thinking of. And then I'm really dedicated. I don't know if it will work because it's super hard, but I plan to do an exhibition on rethinking of the overview effect in Nepal in February next year. But it's also super hard because it's quite easy for us, let's say, to go to Nepal, but to bring people from Nepal, there has to be a lot of work done around fundraising, finding people who will support. But I also truly believe that building capacity for countries like Nepal is super important, because they are the ones who are suffering from climate change. And they are in between two real superpowers, that is China and India. Because if we think of superpowers, those are the true superpowers that are coming. And I don't believe in this division that we had in the world for the past, let's say, 100 or 200 years. And they are right in between, and everyone is exploiting them. Elon Musk is promising them the Starlink to provide internet for villages. And I have to say I love the dark sky in Nepal, and I don't like the Starlink satellites going over Nepal. And I do like the indigenous ideas of astronomy that they have. I'm not saying that astronomy or astrophysics is different, but I really like the dark sky reserve in Nepal. And I don't want any satellites. So when we are talking about heritage, for example, and and what art and science can do together is protect also intangible heritage, like, for example, the dark sky, which belongs to all of us and not to like super wealthy oligarchs that just want to, provide internet. That's super nice, that's cute. But then again, maybe we should talk about it also from a cultural perspective.
Thank you. We have a question.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Seda. I'm a documentary filmmaker and the producer. And this was amazing, and I feel so sorry for having missed what you have done in opera. I think it looked amazing from the pictures, and I can imagine what it looked there. Talking about indigenous astronomy, you spoke about Burakan. I just wonder if you're familiar with Stonehenge, the Karahunj, the local Stonehenge here in Syunik. I don't know if you've been there, if you've heard about it, because there's this huge scientific discourse about it, whether it was a astronomic center back in time or not. But I just thought about it, and I could imagine the Copernicus project being localized as a Heruni project. If you're interested, there are many sources about it, and I think that could be inspirational for you. And the second question is very personal, talking about the overview effect and the zooming out. And I understand your academic background, but I wonder if you've had a very personal aha moment in any situation somehow that really took you to zoom out and see this bigger picture, and that inspired your future career. Thank you.
Thank you so much for, I think, one suggestion and the other super nice question. No, I haven't heard, but I was actually thinking about it, that this area must have some super interesting indigenous astronomy, which was covered by the astronomy as we understand it now, and I would be very interested in learning more about it. And because we've almost lost all knowledge of how people perceive the sky and what they came up with regarding the sky, what did they see in the sky. And I'm not talking about astrology here. I'm not an astrology person at all, but I do believe sky, especially the night sky, was always with us, and it was part of our most profound aesthetic experiences. And it's still like that. If you go to a forest and it's super dark and you see the universe, it's one of the most profound experiences that you can have. And of course, I would love to learn more about the context here. And then my experience, I have to say, I think it's studying astronomy. And it wasn't like, it's very hard to emulate the overview effect. Only 800 people went to space and they saw the Earth, and one thing is to talk about it, and other thing is to live it, like to have the embodied experience of that. And I think the embodied experience for me was this 3 hardcore years of studying physics, math, and then after like 4 years, let's say, you suddenly develop a tacit knowledge, intuitive understanding. Like, I don't see a wall now, When I see a wall, I think of the particles. And this is this type of intuitive thinking that science can introduce to someone. And recently I was also thinking about the overview effect, as you said. And that's a thing that I might try to do in Nepal, because we are discussing the overview effect as a super, let's say, new phenomena. It was described 15 to 20 years ago. There is a book by Frank White describing the phenomena. And we are basically discussing as it was something so revolutionary, that we are interconnected, that the Earth is a whole. And but if you check for this, let's say, Nepali tradition, you will find this type of knowledge coming from what is called the land-based knowledge. So from understanding the seasons of the year, of being part of a forest, let's say. So you could have a kind of an overview effect, but coming from your daily practice, from your culture. So you wouldn't use an animal. You don't have to go to space to understand that animals in slaughterhouses are suffering, right? So this would come from being closer to, and I'm not it's not anything shamanistic in what I'm trying to say. Is I'm just saying that it's not new. That's one. This whole idea, and also I have a suspicion of the overview effect, that it's a byproduct of when you're up there, and you are looking down on Earth. I think you are super scared of looking the other way around. So I feel, and I think that it's like subconsciously it's better to look at something familiar like the Earth rather than to look at the void and the blackness of the cosmos. Because our minds are absolutely not ready for the vastness of the cosmos, for the scales of the cosmos. So I think the overview effect is a bit overhyped, and it is the new thing. But I think it can be critically discussed. And for me, again, unfortunately, there was now one moment, but it happened, and it was yeah, and I really like it. Yeah.
Thank you. I will just move to this one and then back to you.
Thank you very much for your amazing presentation. I have a question. Several years ago, I have read an article which tells about the phenomenon. To be honest, I don't know if it's true or not. That the team which was maintaining the Hubble telescope in the space, each time they're upgrading the system, increasing the resolution of the telescope, they received the new results and they explore new stars in the same sector of the universe like before. So looks like the amount of the stars are infinitive. So my question is very stupid for the person who will get a PhD in the astrophysics. Why the night sky is dark, not the white?
Because of the distance that we are, and the size of the stars that we have in our galaxy are super far, and the amount of energy that is being produced is weakened by the distance that so.
In fact, it is no argument against static universe. If universe
wait.
Has some and has some non-zero density, then the night sky wouldn't be dark.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Namor. I don't know who I am at the moment. Thanks for the lecture and for the sweets. They were fantastic. I have two questions. One is a simple one. In that train project, was that an original song written for the project?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And the other question, you showed a bunch of projects from different countries when you were traveling to and doing projects with the locals. And considering your approach to things being decolonial, how do you work with communities? What are your approaches to people, to gathering people around the new idea and making project with people who you have limited time with? So for me, it's quite hard. Done some curatorial work in places that I don't live in. So I would be interested to see what are your approaches to this? How to vitalize people, energize them to do something, then to have a connection and to learn something from them too?
Well, that's a great question. And it's super hard. I have to say, and I don't have a solution. I would say it's always based on a given, on a person that you're working with or a community like you're discussing. It's super easy, at least in my opinion, to exploit people and to create visibility for yourself by basically working with the community, because it's super fancy and popular now to work with communities and do socially engaged art. But that's a super long discussion because at times when I'm radical, I even question the type of art which is being done in prisons with people, because I think to myself, but that's, even though we are doing some, let's say, art therapy with people, at the same time we are giving a legitimacy to the system that is putting them in prisons. So philosophically, I have different views on that, and of course it would be super perfect, like to understand our that we are coming from privilege and so on. But at times it's just impossible. And on the other hand, you go somewhere and you meet people who really want to do something. And then you're like with your academic, cultural studies discussion coming from Foucault or Derrida, like, yeah, I shouldn't work with people because I'm exploiting them. And then and what if it's capacity building? Like, I could think maybe the same of me, because when I was like 24, maybe, I met some curators from Portugal. We worked together. I were, let's say, not an unpaid advisor for that project. But on the other hand, I learned so much, you know, and I met so many people. I connected with so many people that was like a life-changing experience for me. So, like, one of the things that I always try to do is to, like, always pay people. I know it sounds so basic, but like, or either everyone is a volunteer, and then that's fine. But if people cannot afford to be volunteers, or so that's one, like paying people is and fairly paying. Like, you know, I've many times when I do B61, which is not a commercial project at all, I try not to negotiate with people. I even tell them, look, this is not enough for the work that you're going to do. And I think being like true with yourself and following your intuition and trying to be respectful is a way. And there is no one solution to that. And how do you work with communities?
That's turning into a discussion. It's okay?
Why not?
Yeah, okay.
It's okay? Or
I guess we can also continue the informal one, but it's...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so there is no unified approach, but for me the greatest interest comes from learning from people working and living there. Sometimes I feel like coming from outside I'm a nuisance. For example, I did a project with kids. It was about 3D scanning, but children were just trying to hang out because they were doing some potato work with parents, and their summer was ending, so they didn't care too much about 3D scanning, about history preservation. So most of the time we just spent together, like walking and talking, and I felt like a foreigner the whole time. And for me, curating is more about presenting people with an idea or some kind of new thing that they can try, and not to enforce the project or result on anybody. So as much as the people who are organizing the project can afford for that. So maybe that's an answer from me.
Thank you.
As I saw, I just have I can add to have fun. This is me talking now. Yeah, I think it is good recipe, and Jan using it a lot.
Fun?
Fun, yeah.
Fun is super fun.
Вы упоминали о проблеме восприятия ваших вопросов к вашей матери относительно космоса и астрономии, о том, что есть много вопросов, которыми люди не задаются относительно также астрономии. И мне интересно, какая основная идея вас подвигла к реализации ваших проектов? Это попытка популяризировать науку, это попытка принести ее туда, где, допустим, она не так актуальна, как в других местах. Ваш личный вызов к тому, что люди так мало интересуются наукой, или это, грубо говоря, вы как человек творческий, ну, то есть мы состоим из разных частей, вот вы отчасти ученый и имеете некую креативную вашу часть, пытаетесь реализовать ее через подобные проекты.
So not to, let's say, exploit my mom too much. Of course, it's also my egoistic drive to have fun. Again, like, because when I love my work because I can be with people and I can meet people. I can, like, coming to Yerevan was super amazing for me because I was with people I didn't know. I was learning about a country through trying to do something in this country, having obstacles to solve together, having challenges. And I absolutely love that part of my work and of art and science, which is about meeting people and leaving the best, not being in a bubble, not being just a Polish guy in Warsaw or a European guy in Lisbon, or, no, I want to meet people, I want to understand them. And science is one of the few areas in which we can discuss things which are common to us, like the night sky or the, it's everyone has this sensation when looking towards the stars. So science has this capability of having a common topic to discuss. Like how many stars are there, or is there life?
Ground roof conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Ground roof to conversation, right?
What?
Ground roof.
Ground roof. I don't know the my
basic thing to make a conversation.
So yeah, like basic stuff that we all are interested in. And then you're trying to do, let's say, a performance together. So you meet one person, and that person introduces you to someone else. And then suddenly I come for the second time, and already there are faces here in the audience that I know and that I will love to have a coffee with and have a dinner with, And so this is like a way of connecting to other people. And then, of course, and I'm not I wouldn't call myself like an idealist, bringing, communicating science, and so I do believe science is extremely important, but I also really like being with people. That's maybe I never did a PhD in physics or astrophysics. I started one in astrophysics, and I left it when the train started because I wanted to be with my artist friends, with actors, with technicians. And that's why I studied culture rather than science. But I think science can offer, again, a platform to meet regardless our differences.
So you started it to be a sociality with the other people who interested
to socialize. Yeah.
Sorry, if it to person doesn't mean that you felt lonely in your interests.
Not in my interest, but in the language that I was learning. Because science has a certain language that you have to put a lot of work to go through the language in order to then discuss. And again, the Schrödinger's cat that I was showing, it's a simplification, but you can at least discuss on a basic level with a person which has almost zero understanding of math. So I was trying to have these meaningful conversations with people that I knew and that I cared about. And also it was about me, because it's super lonely to be like the only person in the room thinking about, that there is no life after death.
Yeah, it's clear. So doesn't mean that the goal was looking for people who
and to address loneliness, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Yannick.
Hello.
My name is Elena. I was from PR team who support the Instytut B61 during STARMUS. And I have the same question I asked you 3 years before. Usually we speak about bridge between science and art, but as you know, in Armenia we have a lot of political and non-political issues, and some art curators now in the 21st century, they assist with initiatives that helps to solve political issues as well. And as art curator, are you interested in initiatives that can help, for example, Armenia to bring back Armenian hostages, etc., etc.? Or you think that this type of communication can ruin the reputation art curator like influencer? Or you are interested in?
No, I think it's, well, for me, it's an area in which I'm not, I lack at times skills to develop a meaningful project like the one that you're discussing now. And this maybe comes also from my imposter syndrome that most of us have in our lives. And but the thing is that I believe it's of great importance, this type of, and I think it's one of the responsibilities of not only art but as societies to speak up and speak about and speak against a lot of the times. Speak for, so speak for peace, but when it's needed, speak also against. And I think that's that times of being in between, in the middle, I think it's over. Like we either are doing good things and we choose good or not. And this is a very personal take. We had a right-wing government for 8 years, and for many artists in Poland, it was very opportunistic to not maybe work with the very right-wing government, but to say anything, you know, like it, because then your grant would be maybe cut. Or, but now when we have a new government, a lot of people lost their faces. Like it's you have one face, you know, and you have one identity, one reputation. So I would say, like, well, of course, if you feel that it's not important, then don't do it. But if you really see that something is going on, I'm for speaking up rather than and doing artistic projects that address social, political issues. I think that's one of the main responsibilities of art, and us as intellectuals, humans, and just, you know, friends maybe.
Yeah, I also have a question. Jan, thank you for the lecture. My name is Pavel and I'm a graphic designer. So I have a question, it's just maybe a dreamy question. Let's pretend that you have unlimited resources, like unlimited money and unlimited team. So what is your dream project would you like to do?
That's a very hard question because most probably this would never happen. Like, not the budget, but the whole team would be, you know, iterating, making it better, building another thing. I'm a true believer of deadlines and of small, maybe not small budgets, but the budgets like enough, you know, so that it sparks your creativity. However, if it was to happen ever that I would have a big budget, like a big one, I think I would do another train. Like I've done 2 trains in my life, and I would really love to go. And I would like to cross Asia. I used to be in love with India, but it's also changing very fast, and it's gentrifying a lot. But that would be the area I would love to do an intervention, having a proper train running for, let's say, half a year, with a bunch of beautiful interventions on the train cars. That would be the project I would be in love with, and. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
I think we need a last question, and yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
I think the conversations are really important. I will just like remind that these speeches, you can pass the microphone while, like, you know, it's like. These speeches also are going to be available online later on, so I guess the ones who missed the chance that you are going to check, or also the other things that were mentioned, it would be nice to keep an eye on hosq. This was the thing was disturbing inside of me the whole time. Okay, maybe this is the last question before going for informal parts. Okay, go.
Hi, thank you so much. That was very, very inspiring. And I've heard you've mentioned the imposter syndrome that you have. And as a young person, relatively young still, like, I'm just exploring life and trying to bring as many meanings to it as I can. But there is a difficulty, like, while initiating a project, how to not underestimate the work that you do when you have, like, understood the big concept of cosmos and the bigger things, the art, the universal things. How to not underestimate the initiatives that you have in your mind.
I think there's maybe a heuristic method how to cope with this type of challenges. And in my case, that would be to focus on the process. And if the process provides me with fun and pleasure, and along the way I'm having fun and it's nice, I think it's valuable then. But if you're only focused on the effect or on the product and you lose this fun, once you achieve it and you do the project, you feel super empty. And then you just immediately have to start a new project or a new thing. And then you realize that you're going from one dream to another, and when you achieve it, there's almost no pleasure in it, and then you want to do something bigger and bigger. So I would say that focusing on having fun and creating valuable processes in which people are valued, you respect, and you build friendships, I would think this is at least that's my way of coping. It's not universal for sure, but that's how and I learned it the hard way, so.
Yeah, I was trying to find the easy solution, kind of cheat code. Thank you so much.
Okay, I hope these 2 days were kind of inspiring for you, and I promise on behalf of hosq we will try to bring also new and amazing people to Armenia to have this informal conversation together. And before moving to future, let's one more time give a nice applause to Diana Garla and Jan Świerkowski. Please stand up, our rock stars.
And let's give a nice applause to the organizers who've hosted us.
Andreas is over there. There are lots of people behind hosq. It's like a huge team, huge believers who hope will have an opportunity to engage with everyone. Nevertheless, to mention that we are having an open call for our first laboratory that we are super, super exciting. Do it, I don't know how else to say it. Just do it, just open it, just apply it. Because we want to try something new, and we want to try something new together, interdisciplinary, together with art, together with you, together in Armenia. So that's it. Thank you. I'm inviting for more informal conversation. Please approach, please speak. We are here. And thank you. Shnora Kaletin.